Today I want to talk about who it is that you're expressing. You think you're expressing yourself. Well, you react to things, of course, and you repeat what you've heard, and you rearrange things in your mind. But who are you expressing? You know, Christ said at some point, he was talking to the Pharisees, and they were saying, well, our fathers, or, Abraham and Isaac and so on. He said, no, he said, your father is the devil. Because he said, if your father really were Abraham and Isaac and so forth, then you would understand me. So, once again, just what is it that people are expressing? When you see somebody that's angry, impatient, hostile, selfish, vindictive, judgmental, just what is that? See? And if rarely you see understanding, kindness, patience, it's so beautiful. Isn't it beautiful when somebody says, hey, don't worry about it? Or when somebody forgives you for something you did. It's very beautiful because it's rare. Mostly people hold grudges, they're vindictive, and they want to get even. Well, you see, if something was done to someone, then they want to get even. Can you see how they become an extension of that? But the image that comes to mind almost is like an antenna. Do you remember the old-fashioned antennas that you would find on radios that would extend? What do they call them? Telescoping antennas? There was a part within a part, within a part, within a part, within a part, like that. All the way back to the beginning. So that image comes to mind. So what are you expressing when you're angry? When you resent your husband? When you're impatient with your kids? When you're judgmental? See what I mean? And so what I want you to understand is that there are basically two kingdoms. There's the kingdom of God, then there's the other kingdom. And unless you have Christ-like qualities, or are becoming more like that, then you're expressing, because you see, if you were of God's kingdom, then you would be fashioned from it. But more importantly, what you are would be coming through it and from it. You would be an extension of Christ. Christ, an extension of God. Do you understand? But if, on the other hand, it doesn't describe you, then just what is it that you are expressing? It was what came through your mother. You become your mother. Or like your dad, the dad you hated. But what was operating through her? Well, her grandmother. And who was operating through grandmother? You see what I mean? All the way back to the beginning. It's a chain from the very beginning. And so all you are is the latest link in the chain. And then it, operating through you, uses your life force, your what energy you have, to then strive to infect someone else, to do unto others what was done to you. Do you see that? See? So what that means, if what I have said describes you, it means you're not coming from the right place. Well, that has, in a way, it has a good side and a bad side. The good side is, if it's not really you, just like Paul said, he said, the things that I want to do, I don't do, and the things that I don't want to do, I do. He said, I can only come to the conclusion that it's sin that has made a whole home in me that's doing it. See? So if you're not yourself, if you're not doing things as you really would like to, if you don't have the patience, the understanding, the wisdom, the long suffering, the kind, see, if you don't have that, and the courage, if you don't have those, then you're not coming from the right place. So that's good news, because then that means it's not you. Something else, someone else is operating through you. So that is good, because then it kind of relieves a bit of the browbeating that you always give yourself, blaming yourself, hating yourself. See? Turning your judgment on yourself and your anger on yourself. Okay, so it's not you. So it's your mother and what was in her and what was in grandmother and so on, all the way back, or in whoever did something to you. And it was your reaction. See, they could do anything they wanted. See, they could do anything, and if you had not reacted to it, then it wouldn't have affected you. But it did, and it got inside of you because you reacted to it. And what is a reaction but a loss of faith and a loss of love? A reaction is what? Doubt, anger, failing to hold fast. You see? But on the other hand, you were only a little child. You couldn't help yourself, because that's when it began, when you were a little child and you could not help yourself. So now you see, what's coming through you now is not you. And when it got inside of you, you couldn't help yourself. See? So that's good. But now it's a little scary to see, because of our ego. We want to think that everything that we do and everything that we think is our own idea. We're very loath to think that it might be someone else's. If you watch a hypnotized person on stage, the hypnotist can say, yeah, I hypnotized you to put your shoes on backwards. I did that. I did. Everybody here, did you see me do that? They saw me do it. The person doesn't believe it. The person says, well, the only reason I put my shoes on backwards is because I felt like it. I wanted to. I wanted to see what they look like, or they didn't feel right, so I changed them. Or I wanted to see what they would look like this. They make up some excuse because he doesn't want to admit it wasn't his own idea, you see. It's a very big flaw that we have. Very big flaw, not wanting to admit that what we did. See, it goes all the way back to Adam, doesn't it? It's actually a variation of blaming Adam when God said, did you eat of that fruit? And Adam said, well, it's that woman that you gave me to talk me into it. See? He blamed her. So, part and parcel of not wanting to admit that we're doing something that's not our own idea is to make up an excuse or make up a rationale. But even though it came from someone else. So that's a whole other dimension of this thing. I don't want to go into that today. I just want you to understand that from the very beginning, there was this dark side that has been operating. And it got into the human race through Adam and Eve. And ever since then, it's had a hold on us. And it, operating through people, is responsible for all the wars and all the awful things that you see. If only you could come from the good place again. Well, now, another good piece of news. You can. Because the good is still there. And it is your conscience. See? Which you may not. When you were a little child, you were very much aware of your conscience, weren't you? If you got mad at your mommy, you felt bad. That was your conscience from God. But now you may not be aware of it much. You do bad things, selfish things. You don't even realize it. See? But once in a while, you still feel your conscience, and that's from God. It's intuition, now 20/20 hindsight. So that means that God's light is still there. And the possibility of being reformed is still there because it's there. It can reform you. See, the light contains everything, like sunlight. It has both love and light. It has both warmth and light in it. And the inner light from God is perfectly capable of changing you back. See, Christ was able to change water into wine instantly. He was able to make fish and bread instantly. He was able to bring someone back to life. He was able to heal their eyes instantly. So he can change you instantly. But there's a kind of a process involved, because the thing about God is that he wants you to be able to see. He wants you to understand what's going on and to assent to it, and to realize that God is somehow helping you, and to kind of like that and to want to do that. You see what I mean? He doesn't force anything on you. Unlike the other guy who forces everything on you. See, bad people, misguided people, willful people. They're always pressuring something on you, aren't they? Well, not God. But anyway, so now you see that something was operating through you and is operating through you. It's a little scary, but it's good in that now you know it's not you. So what are you guilty of? Well, the thing you're guilty of is not wanting to admit you're wrong and denying conscience when it makes you aware that you're doing something that's not quite right. So if you could just admit in the light, in God's light, in the light of conscience, if you could just admit, if you're doing something wrong, you're being impatient with your children, or you're resenting your husband or something, and you just see it, and you regret it, you realize you can't change yourself, you can't make yourself good, you just see it in God's light, see? And what else can you do? Well, you can yearn. Yearn for the good the Father you've never known. Yearn to be different, realizing you can't make yourself different. Yearning to know what's right and do what's right, and realizing that you don't know what's right. See? And then he'll begin to do his magic. That's right. He'll begin to do his magic on you. And within a short amount of time, in a sense, instantaneously. But like I said, drawn out over time, so that there's a lot of things for you to see, to understand, to realize, to say, oh, now I understand why my mom was that way. She couldn't help herself. Something was in her compelling her, just like something's been in me. Oh, now I see what I was doing. I see what's wrong with ambition, with setting goals, and with resenting people. I see now. I see why I mustn't be impatient with my children. See, you begin to see all those kinds of things. It's very beautiful. And it's good. And it's nice. And it's nice to know that God is there and watching over you. It's very nice to know. So I think I've said a lot today, and I think I'll stop now. I've made some good videos lately about God's grace, about emotions, why you mustn't be emotional, why you mustn't react. Why you mustn't react. Made some very good videos lately. And this is a good one too. Why not take a little time and start meditating with a little meditation that I have? Could do you a lot of good.